Hey guys, welcome to a new video. In today's video, I'm going to be continuing the yesterday's video where I basically talked about what I would do if I had to start all over. Shout out to everybody who was in the comments, writing comments. I haven't had the chance to answer the comments in the past like 2-3 days. Actually, really for the past 2-3 weeks because I've been pretty much sick, but I'm getting better. I'm definitely going to take like a good amount of time today to answer some comments or try to respond to some. But I wanted to do a follow-up video to essentially, the second part to what I would do if I had to start all over. And yesterday, I made this 46-minute video, which as you guys could see right here, it's this video. It has on the thumbnail the words starting over of exactly what I would do starting over, right? And I made that video, and you guys can go ahead and check that video out if you're interested. But I'm going to go ahead and continue it. So if you remember where we left off is I kind of made recommendations on what platforms to use, what softwares to use, and really I mentioned the softwares more importantly that were, in my opinion, requirements of what I would do and how I would do it. And obviously, as you guys know, sometimes with print on demand, you're at the whims of certain platforms, like Merch by Amazon, for example. It's an amazing platform to be on, but if you don't get accepted, there's really not much you can do. So that's kind of something that I would present as well. With that being said, today I'm going to continue, like I said, this idea of what I would do after everything in terms of starting. Well, for the first video, I would do everything that I mentioned, but I would keep working at it until I reach a certain income point. And that certain income point depends on my monthly basis. So to put things into consideration, guys, the first goal that I would have is I would have either an income-based goal or a goal to where I can hire a virtual assistant. I'll explain why in just a minute. And this is kind of how I would continue on my journey if I had to start all over again. And part of the reason why I would hire a virtual assistant is because it just speeds up the process and do the work for me. Now, as you guys know, I have currently a few virtual assistants working for me, specifically for my print on demand. Okay? And remember, we're keeping this video confined to print on demand. Now, the way I would have this set up, and remember, I'm starting from zero here, and I'm building up, is after I start making my own income, producing my own income from these platforms, I'm going to come up with a strategy. It's almost inevitable that that's going to happen, right? I'm going to have my own strategy. I'm going to have my own tactics. I'm going to have my own beliefs around how to upload to certain platforms and how to do certain things. And with that strategy, ideally, right, I would pass that on to my virtual assistants. As you guys know, the virtual assistants that I currently have, they use all of my courses. So let me just go ahead and shout out the courses real quick. Autopilotpassiveincome.com. One of the best things about me putting up these courses is I don't have to always spend hours every single day answering questions that my virtual assistants might have. I provide all the answers in my courses. Does that make sense? So if I'm telling my virtual assistant, do XYZ from the Redbubble tagging course, for example, right, or the design course or whatever, they know what I'm referring to. Does that make sense? So the first step is I would have to have a developed system that would go ahead and create a certain level of income for me. Now, what I would do is I would backtrack and calculate how much is my time worth. That's very important. And the reason why was I would, every single day that I'm working and I'm cranking out, making some money, and I would only do this, by the way, once I feel comfortable enough to do the calculation. Once I calculate how much money I'm making, then I can calculate how much it would make sense to hire a virtual assistant for. So to put things into perspective, with virtual assistants, a lot of my virtual assistants who work for me work from the Philippines. Now, not all of them do. I have a couple in Venezuela. I have a couple, or let me take that back. I have one in Turkey, Istanbul, Turkey, and I have one in Pakistan. And the rest are all in the Philippines. And let's just use Philippines numbers because those are a little bit easier. In the Philippines, right, a $500 a month US is a perfectly good wage in the Philippines for somebody. And that's for a full-time worker. And when I say full-time, we're talking about the American full-time. So we're talking 9 to 5, 5 days a week, Monday to Friday. So what I personally do is none of my virtual assistants work full-time, not a single one. All of them are working part-time, so they're doing half of the amount of time. They're doing 4 hours a day, 4 days a week, not 5 days, 4 days a week, and they're getting paid $400 a month. So this is in Philippines, and they're actually working as contractors. So they're not necessarily employees, they're contractors. So, for example, I have a young lady who works for me, and she is a college student, and she also works for me, and she's working on her, I believe, her master's degree. It's one of her graduate degrees, right? Master's, doctor, something like that, and she's working for me. So it's great. It works good in a, both sides kind of thing. And like I said, my virtual assistants, they come in working for me. They don't know anything about print on demand. I'm providing all the training, all the information for them. And for me personally, knowing what I know now, that's the first thing I would aim to. Because after I make a certain amount of money, my goal is not just to make that money and keep it. My goal is to explode it or multiply it. And the only way I'm going to be able to do that is multiply my own efforts, if that makes sense. So let me kind of put things into perspective for you. Okay, and I actually want to pull out a whiteboard here. Let me go ahead and pull out a whiteboard if I can. And this will kind of hopefully help me explain what I'm talking about. So let's just say I'm doing work at this point on Society6 because I've actually made enough money to buy a membership for it. I have money coming in on Redbubble. I have money coming in on TeePublic. Let's just say my circumstance allows me to make money from Displate, however much money that is. I don't have a Merch by Amazon account, so that won't count. Let's just say I'm working on Zazzle and I have some income producing on Zazzle. And on the off chance, let's just use Etsy. Now, once again, I'm putting myself in my own shoes at a very, very beginning stage. Okay? If I'm making money from all these platforms, some are stronger than others, some are better than others, I could definitely, really, really easily work all the way up to past expenses an extra $400 to $1,000 a month. I can easily do that. This is not a problem for me, especially after a few months of working on this. Once I make this happen, then it's time to get that second assistant or virtual assistant, really the first employee or the second person working on the business. And the way this is going to work is I'm going to pick the easiest platform that they can succeed for me on. So I'll tell you guys this. One of the systems that worked really, really well for me personally is, let's use Redbubble, for example. With Redbubble, at the time, I hired 2 virtual assistants in the very, very beginning, okay? And one person was responsible for aggregation, and the second person was responsible for uploading. So let me put things into perspective. The reason why I didn't hire one person to do both jobs is because, number one, it was harder for training. Number 2, it took more time. And number 3, it was more pricey. Because what happens is, and this is what I found, is when you're giving virtual assistants too much responsibility, even if it takes the same amount of time, they just typically don't want to do it. And so what I did is I decided, let me make things as easy as possible for my virtual assistants. So I had one person working about 2 hours a day, and this person also working about 2 hours a day. The aggregator was the main job. This was the person who had the most responsibility. And I'll kind of explain what he or she did. And I have multiple virtual assistants, is why I'm saying he or she. So if you guys are familiar, you guys know I use bots and apps, right? And it actually kind of pieced together perfectly for me at the time because I would have them using this tool right here. Where is it? Unlimited tool here. Unlimited Images Pro. This tool was actually not called Unlimited Images Pro at one time. It was a different tool. It was this one. But this one, as you guys know, got upgraded, etc. But at the time, let's just use this one for the example. So this was the tool, right? And this tool provides images by photographers. And these photographers, I can take these images and upload them straight into Redbubble. And this was something I did manually myself, but the easiest process for my virtual assistants because, number one, it takes out the designing factor. So the aggregator was the person who was responsible from taking from me the information of the niche, and then they had to take the images, download them, and then send them to the uploader. The uploader's responsibility was to take the information of the images, of the titles, and of the tags, and paste them then into the account. Does that make sense? So basically, they're working 2 different jobs, and they pass it on to each other. And so what this did for me was, it allowed me to increase my workload on a daily basis. Eventually, what I did is where the aggregator started to learn how to post, and now I had 2 people posting for me. So that's kind of how I increased their workload over time. And then instead of having just me working on the uploading, now I have 2 or 3 people working on the uploading. Does that make sense? So after I make money from the starting point of the first video, and I'm doing well on a monthly basis, and I'm turning up the heat on that, that's when I start investing in a virtual assistant. And once again, let me put things into perspective. If I'm making, let's just say, even $400 a month, $400 a month is great to just sit in an account, but it's not going to grow itself. Does that make sense? So if I take images myself and I upload them into these platforms, they're not going to just multiply themselves in terms of income. They're going to spit out a certain amount of income every month. However number, whatever number that might be. It could be 300, it could be 400, it could be 1,000, it could be 1,500. During Christmas, it could be 1,800, who knows, right? Just depends on the situation. But after it's spitting out a certain amount of money, I'm going to take that money and I'm going to reuse it. Now, partially, some I'm going to reuse it for tools and softwares, of course. I'm going to expand my tools and softwares, and I'm going to figure out how to speed up time. That's really my goal. And if I was to be 100% truthful, that's actually my goal with pretty much every business, but with this one specifically, it's the most crucial. Speeding up time. Now, what do I mean by speeding up time? Well, I have to do a basic analysis. Nothing crazy, nothing too mathematical, but a basic analysis. And I could look at all the work that I do, and I could say, if I was to upload one image to one platform, how much money is it worth, right? Now, obviously, some images make money and some don't. Some designs make money and some don't. But if we were to average everything up, right? How much money is my design worth and for how long of a period of time? Meaning, if I upload a design, how much money will it make on average over how long a period of time? So let's just say every 6 months, one design is worth 50 cents. I'm not saying that that is the case. I'm just simply throwing a number out there. If that's my number now, 50 cents for every 6 months for every design, then the mathematics becomes really simple. I need to increase the amount of production on that basis or on that rate. And that's what I mean by speed up time. So how can I do that? Instead of having me as a designer, I have uploaders that do that for me. And when I say designer, they're not designing. Remember, they're using tools to speed that up for me. In terms of tagging and the uploading and all these kind of things for all these platforms, except for Displate, really, because Displate doesn't count. But in terms of tagging, and I use Displate as the example of it not counting because right now I'm not the expert in Displate. I'm just trying to learn how to make it work for myself, right? So I'm just a beginner. But anyways, and that's because I just got my account. But anyways, when I have them upload, in terms of the tagging, remember, their first language is not English. So what happens is I'll spend $9.99 a month or $100 a year, which for me is $100 a year. Not $9.99, sorry, $12.99 a month or $100 a year, and that's exactly what I personally do. And that is taken care of for me. I don't have to explain for them certain keywords. I don't have to teach them spelling. I don't have to worry about any of those issues. And once again, this is a big issue because my virtual assistants, in order for me to pay them that low salary amount compared to an American, is simply because they're not in America. Their English is not their first language. Does that make sense? And they're being paid good when I pay them overseas, but once again, they're not Americans. So I can't rely on, their habits, their spelling, things like that. So the tool takes care of that for me. And this is what I mean when I say reinvesting, is I'm reinvesting into tools that can yield a higher rate on return and decreased time and increase revenue. So tools like this are crucially important. But now I'm not just paying for myself, I'm paying for my virtual assistants as well, okay? And one of my tips is if you're going to hire a virtual assistant, you should probably check out my video. I made a video here, right here. I called it My Exact Process for Hiring Print-on-Demand Virtual Assistants. It's a 46-minute video where I just answer questions. If one day people want to see more information on this, maybe I'll put out like a mini lesson or something on this, like a paid mini lesson, because it is kind of intricate. But, I don't know personally too many people that treat print on demand like an actual business. I know a lot of people that just do it themselves. It's a one-man team, and that's a great thing. Don't get me wrong. It's just something I had to figure out for myself. And to be honest, guys, having virtual assistants for me wasn't really foreign, because in my very first business when I was in college and I was doing the clothing and the powerlifting gear and I was shipping it out of a warehouse, the warehouse was small. It was a stock, not a stock, what is it called? It was a storage unit. And the storage unit was small, and I would get friends from college to help me out, and I'd pay them for the day, kind of like contractors. And I remember this kid, his name was Tommy, and Tommy would come with me every single Friday after school, after our economics class, I believe it was. And I think I was a senior at this point in time. This was towards the end, and he was like a freshman. And he would come to the storage unit. We would ship out products. We'd package them all night long, ship them out. So, and then after I'd drive him home. But the point is I kind of was used to working with people, having people work under me, paying them, all kinds of stuff like that. So for me, it was never a problem. And hiring the virtual assistants was just another part of the course. You know what I'm saying? I already had experience. I already know what people want. They're motivated by money, and I take care of them from that aspect. So nothing new to me, really. Now, as I'm hiring virtual assistants, guys, my next goal is to figure out how I can speed up my virtual assistant's progress. And this is what I mean when I say the tools again, and I'm going to come back to the tools. But I have to figure out as a you could say a boss, I don't know if that's the right word, but as somebody who's guiding my virtual assistants, I have to figure out how to make the process as easy for them as possible. And part of the reason for that is, remember, they're working just for a paycheck. They really don't care about my business at the end of the day. And the way they get paid is off of their performance, let me fix that. Not a qualitative performance, but a quantitative performance. And really what I'm just saying is they get paid off the amount of work they upload and the tags they create and all that kind of stuff. They don't get paid for how well they do, because they're getting paid regardless, right? So if I tell them, okay, today your job is to do 100 uploads. We're going to do 30 on Redbubble, 20 on TeePublic, 40 on Society6, and trying 10 different products on Zazzle. If that's their number, right, that's the number they have to reach each and every day, that's all they're concerned with. They're not really concerned with quality. So some of the things that I personally do to iterate that and make them better at the end of the day and decrease my costs is I have to figure out how can I streamline the process. And this has been something that I've been working on for I guess you could say the past 2 years, where I'm constantly figuring out from all businesses of mine, not just the print on demand, how can I make life easier for my virtual assistants? Tools, courses, whatever they need, I'm here to provide financially. They don't have to pay for anything. I'm here to provide it for them. So that's kind of what I'm focused on. But if I was you and I was starting all the way from the beginning again at ground zero, the first thing you have to do is you have to become expert level at some platform, okay? The next thing you have to do is you have to realize that not all platforms are the same and they're not treated equal. Although you can upload similar designs on similar platforms, that's not always the case. Meaning, if I can take a design on Redbubble, upload it to Redbubble, and with social media marketing, with all kinds of stuff, with the right tags, with the right titles, let's just say I max out that design at $100 a month, okay? Let's say I max it out at $100 a month, which, is kind of iffy depending on the situation, but sometimes you could do more, sometimes you could do less, but let's just say 100, okay? If I'm maxing out that one design at $100 a month with social media, I can take that product, put it on Zazzle, and it won't even make a fraction of that. It won't even make $5 a month. Why? Because that product is designed for a particular platform. This is what's important, is you have to figure out the rules of the game for each platform. And each platform is so different. In fact, their designs, I would say about 70% of the designs that I upload to Redbubble would never go on Society6. Designs like this, where is it here? Designs like this, let me pull it up. Images like this, I can work with this for Society6. I cannot do the typical Redbubble t-shirt type designs. You guys know what I'm talking about. The graphic type stuff on Society6. For me personally, I haven't seen it do nearly as well. And to be honest, it takes longer, things like that. So harder to tag, etc. So for me, when I'm working on certain platforms, I adhere to the platform rules. And when I say rules, these are not rules written in stone. No platform is coming out saying certain things. These are things that I'm discovering through my testing, through my analysis, through my hard work, and just seeing what works and what doesn't. You know what I'm saying? And you get to learn pretty quickly. And this is not just for print on demand. I could adhere this to anything. I could adhere this to uploading stock photography. I could adhere this to blogging. I could adhere this to a lot of things. So that's what I would do if I was starting all over from a print on demand space. I would work as hard as I can to be an expert in one platform, and then I would, or slowly as I'm doing that, I would work still on other platforms, just gaining knowledge. After that, I would take my skills and then I would start giving them to my virtual assistants so they can produce for me income as well. Now, at that point, if I'm an expert, I'm creating expert level income. And the thing that I would recommend to everybody to fully understand is your sales tell the truth. Okay, this is something that you want to realize, is that, and I get comments like this from people all the time where they say, I'm doing everything right, but I'm not making any money. By definition, you're not doing everything right if that was the case. And trust me, I've been in your shoes. I know exactly what you're talking about. When I started my very first business, like I said, when I was selling the clothing, selling the powerlifting gear, there was a very long period of time in the very beginning, where I wasn't selling anything. And I thought I was doing everything right. I thought, man, what else could I possibly do more of to make money? I wasn't making any money. So I was completely wrong. I just was not experienced. And part of the things, or some of the things that cut down on how much work you have to do, is learning from others. Now, unfortunately, the print-on-demand space for YouTube, that is relatively new. Now, I know some people are going to be like, what are you talking about? It's not new. It's been in existence for a long time, but only since COVID has the amount of content in the print-on-demand space really exploded. Prior to COVID, and even a few years prior to that, there wasn't much videos of real education on print on demand. And what I mean by that is, I'll use my courses as an example. AutopilotPassiveIncome.com, the Redbubble Tag course. When I created this course, and even till today, there was not a single course on Redbubble that went as deep as I did, breaking down the algorithm, breaking down the tagging structure, learning how to tag properly, learning how to title properly, learning how to do the SEO research, learning how to do all those things. And like I said, it's all here in the curriculum. It's all mentioned. There was not a single course that did that. I had to learn how to do it kind of the hard way. And trust me, at that point, I had taken so many courses and the information was basic. It was, hey, this is how you tag. This is how you upload an image. This is how you make sure the image stats can be copied over to another image. This is how you create a collection. It was basic stuff that anybody could figure out with just 20 minutes of research on Google. So I'm not saying that you guys have to purchase courses by any means, but for any business that you're doing, you're probably going to have a period of time where you're going to have to be alone and figure things out the hard way. And, that's kind of just the way it is, and that's fine. That's normal. And I just kind of took that as a chip on my shoulder, and I do that with pretty much every business now. Everybody can give you advice about certain businesses, but at the end of the day, you're the one who's going to have to run it. So I'm giving you advice on virtual assistants, for example. You might find that advice to not necessarily work for you. Everybody's kind of a little bit different, but the courses, the ebooks, those kind of things, they do help gain some information, but you do kind of need some experience to be able to discern what makes sense and what doesn't. And to put things into perspective, I'll give you an example. When I was starting that very, very first business with the clothing, with the powerlifting gear, things like that, creating my own website, I had an FBA account that I was selling on. And I had learned that 99% of the information about FBA, which for those who don't know, fulfilled by Amazon, was complete BS. And what I learned was doing FBA is that there were only two things that mattered when it comes to the FBA, which really comes down to one thing, which is the algorithm, but two things that matter. As long as you have the basic keywords, a lot of people like to sell software tools, keyword tools, all kinds of stuff. As long as you have the basic keywords and you have reviews, that product is going to get sales on Amazon, right? Everybody kept giving me all kinds of random, information. You have courses like Amazing Selling Machine, over $5,000 course, $10,000 course, $15,000 course. And then, of course, you have those agencies where they'll say, hey, we'll build you an Amazon business. All you have to do is pay us 50 grand and we'll build you one. Guys, the reality is, if people knew how to do it themselves, they wouldn't be selling it to you. I mean, that doesn't make sense. Like, for example, in the blogging world, there's a lot of people that offer SEO services. If they knew how to do SEO services truly at a high level, they would hire their own staff, they would build it for their own website, and they would not be offering it to you as a service, right? They just simply would not. Maybe they would sell you education on how to do it, but they would not be offering it as a service. That's why you guys see me. I don't sell Redbubble designs as a service or print-on-demand designs as a service, because I already make money selling the actual designs on the platforms. Or I don't do tagging as a service or any of that kind of stuff, because I already do it for myself. Why would I then go do it for people out there? All I do is simply do my part, teach people what I'm experiencing, and that's pretty much it. So yeah, guys, I know this was a little bit of a shorter video, or maybe not shorter, 26 minutes, kind of long, but hopefully this video helped out. And once again, I really wouldn't be doing too much different than how I would start. I would just simply be doing more of it through the power of virtual assistants, through the power of paying for more tools, through all those kind of things. And as far as my personal website goes, as selling print-on-demand products on my website, I would keep that going. By that point, because we're talking months down the road, the SEO would already kick in. As soon as the SEO kicks in and I'm getting traffic, I would optimize my website even more, fix certain things, pay for certain things to get fixed, or do it myself, learn how to do it. And when I say pay for things to get fixed, I really mean, adding certain code to the website, removing certain things, streamlining the website checkout process, things like that can hurt conversions. And I would probably run some retargeting ads, and that would be pretty much it. There wouldn't be really much of a difference. So yeah, guys, that's all I got, and that's all I've been doing. And hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. I'll talk to you guys later. Thank you guys for watching. Peace out. Bye.